So today I want you to help me and to follow a big case in Access and in Excel, okay? So in fact you need two files. The first one is the case itself, and you can find on that location. So while I'm doing this introduction, it's a good idea to have your computers working, and you need an internet connection, of course. If you don't have, we try to solve it, but let's start with trying to download this file, which is the case itself. I will give you a short explanation, of course. And to solve the case, you will need one file, which is a CSV file, okay, a comma-separated value file. And you will find that file on the other location, which is on bit.ly. You need that file to solve the case, okay? So if you go to that first hyperlink, if you open the first hyperlink, you should see this. Oh, sorry. And this is the case, okay? So the case is called IKAO, so it's about furniture, so you can recognize IKEA or something, okay? And it's about importing, and analyzing business data with that database with Access, okay? So take your time, please, to read what's here. If you're interested in studying in Ghent, you can find some information about studying in Ghent, but I will not explain this. You can read this here in that blue page. If you're interested in studying, each year we have a lot of foreign students in Ghent. So about this case, it is about a furniture shop with stores all over the world and an online shop. And there's a problem with sales in November 2018. So a few months ago, for some specific chairs, the sales dropped down dramatically, okay? And the sales department wants to analyze the problem. And that's what I want you to do, okay? So please take your time to read what's here, okay? And these are the products that dropped down dramatically. So it are 4 chair types of that IKAO furniture shop, okay? So sales want to analyze the problem, and they ask the turnover for those 4 furniture types, and they receive a file from the accounting department, a big CSV file. And you can read what a CSV file is, but probably you know it's a file that is divided, that divides its data with commas. It's a comma-separated value file, okay? So you will need that file. It's called least2018.csv to start analyzing the problem, okay? I'll explain what that least 2018 CSV is all about, and you can read how to import that file into Access. And that's your first question, of course, to import those data into MS Access, okay? So that's the first question, and I'm explaining in that case how to do so. So if you don't know how to import those data into Access, you can read the different steps you need to take to import those data. So that's the first thing you need to do, of course. Wait a second, I will give you time to try. At the end, you will see a file like this in Access. You will see one least 2018 file. And you can see that file here in the background where the data, in the data view and in the design view, how that table looks like, okay? And then you start analyzing the problem. And I want to analyze the problem in 2 questions. This is the first question. How many transactions are done grouped by chair type? And what was the total amount of the transactions done for each chair type? That's the first question. I'll explain you how to solve this. In that case, you can read how to solve this problem. You will need to create a query in Access to solve that question, okay? And then there's a second question, and then it's up to you on which day sales were the highest, okay? So these are the main 2 questions that the sales department wants an answer on, okay? Once you did this, I will show you how to, what you need to do, okay? And then we start with other questions, creating a report, and then we go on with the case. But please start now with trying to import the data from the accounting department into an Access file. Okay, take your time to try. You can work on your own or you can work by 2 or by 3, doesn't matter. But please take your time because you really need this to solve the case, of course. Okay, let's say I give you 5 or 10 minutes to try to import the data and to solve the first 2 questions, to solve the 2 queries I want an answer on. Okay, so go on. I try to help you, of course, if necessary. I come around to see if it's okay, and then I show you how to solve the 2 questions, okay? Go on, please. So I see a lot of students that can open the file, so it's functioning, okay? So pay attention, please. If you open the second file, which is the CSV file, you will see something like this. Okay, so it is a good idea to close that file and to save it. So save this file somewhere, doesn't matter. So save, make sure this file is somewhere on your computer. Okay, and then start the importing process in Access, okay?
Can you show the link again?
Yes. Here's the link again. So make sure you have the file somewhere on your computer and then start the importing process, okay? Okay, let me show you what you need to do here. Okay, so I'm going to show you how the importing of the data can be done. So the first thing, of course, is that you need to file. The file is over there, least 2018.csv. If you open this file, you should see something like this in Excel. And you can see that the data are separated with a comma. Can you see? So each data, date, product, price, payment, is divided by a comma. Okay, that's a standard file. So think about your bank account. If you download your banking transactions, you will see exactly the same thing, a comma-separated value file. Okay, so most of the common software is able to import and export data like this. Okay, here we go. So I will start Access, a new blank database, and I ask you to, what should be the name of the database? Least 2018. So this is a blank database, completely empty, and I will start the importing process. Here we go, external data, and I want to import a text file. Okay, here we go. Browse for the text file, and it is on my desktop. Here it is. Okay, this is the file I want to import. I want to import the source data into a new table in the current database, it says, so that's okay. That's what I want to do. Okay, and this is my file. Okay, the file is a delimited file. It has not a fixed width. It has a delimited data structure, and the delimiter is a comma. Okay, so I can go to the next step, and you will see comma as a default delimiter for the data. Okay. Make sure the text qualifier is set as a double quote. That's important, a double quote. And important too, I'm explaining this in the case, so you can read about this in the case. The first row holds the names of the different columns. Okay, so the first row is not a data row; it holds the names of the columns. So the first column is called transaction date, then comes product, then comes price, payment type, and so on. Okay? So if you take a look into this case file, you will see what you need to do, and you will see that we are in step number 2, I think, of this importing process. Here we go. So the first row contains the field names. I can go to next. And what I want you to do is to change the data type of the price from long integer into currency. So this is a currency, so it will be available, that data will be available in Access as a currency, as a euro value, okay? Maybe on some computers, I think on some of you will need to change this. I'll explain this in the case too, but on my computer I need to change this. The decimal symbol, that's important, is a dot and not a comma. That's important. It could be on some computers that it is the default value, but on mine, on my Windows version, the decimal symbol is set to a dot, so you need to change that, okay? Pay attention, please. So I think this is it for importing the data. So you can click Next. And what you want here is that Access will add an extra field, which is called an ID. Okay, ID is the abbreviation of identification, of course. So the first column will be the ID. So an ID is called in Access a primary key. Okay, do you know what a primary key is? A primary key is, you can read about primary keys here. A primary key is a special table column that holds a unique value, and it cannot be empty. Okay, so think about you being a student. You have a student number That's an ID, an identification. So each one of you has a student number, and no one of you has a student number that is empty, of course. Okay, so this is a concrete example of an ID. So in this case, I will let Access define the ID by itself. So the first record will be 1, and so on, 2, 3, and so on. Okay, so I can click Next here and save this table as least 2018 and finish the process. Okay, close, and you will see a table. Normally you will see a table, but I got some problems I see, but it's depending on the windows, I can solve it. But normally you should see a table with 997 records in it. So different transactions done on those four chairs, on those four different chairs, 997 transactions, okay? So if you have this, you can start answering question 1, creating a query, and question 2, okay? If you don't have this importing process, I will try to help you.
Okay, each person, after finish his own task, please help the colleague to finish also task to we can proceed, okay?
Yes? Okay, so I think most of you have imported the data, and you can see at the bottom of your screen that you have 997 records. Okay, so those records hold transactions done on the internet in November 2018 for those 4 chair types. Okay, so you can see the transaction date, the product, the price, and pay attention, the 2 last columns. I explained this in the case 2. They are too small, so you can change the size of the columns so you can read what's inside. Okay, but that's not important. But if you want to read what's inside, you need to change the column size. I explained this in the case 2. Okay, if you close a table, you should say yes if you change the column size. The first question is to create a query, let's say a question, okay, with the query wizard. Not with the query wizard, sorry, with the query design. That's what I want you to do in the query design. And in that query, the first thing you need to say is on which table you want to ask something. And I want to ask something about the least 2018 table. There's only one. So this is the table I will have a question on. Okay, if you double click the table, you should see that the table appears in that query design view. You can close that show table, and here you go. And the first question is this. This is the case. If you go down a little bit, you will see the first question. The first question is here. How many transactions are done, grouped by chair type, and what was the total amount of the transactions done for each chair type? Okay, so that's a quite complicated question, and it would take you some time if you should solve this by hand or in Excel. In Access, that can go quite quickly if you know how to create such a query, of course. So the first thing you need to do is go to the query design view, and you need one table inside this design view. At the bottom of your screen, you can add the the columns you want to add in your question. And here I want you to add 3 different data, okay? The first one is the ID, then you need the price, and you need I think the date. You need the date too. The product, sorry, you need the product too, because you want to see your result grouped by product. Okay? Yes. So if you add the data, 3 columns, you need to add the total row, and then you can try to solve this question. Okay? So please go on, and you can see the result here. So once you reach this result, you can save your query and go to the next question. Okay? Yes? Okay. What's this?
It's the location of Chicago.
Oh. Voilà. Do you need
To take a photo of this.
No, do you need my name? Maybe.
When the first finish, put your hand up, okay?
Okay, so you need to add 3 fields, 3 columns to this query design. The first one is product, then you want the ID, and you want the price too, okay? So you can drag those fields, or you can double click on them to have them in this query design. Important here is that you add the totals row, because you want to group the solution, you want to group the answer by product, and you want to count, pay attention, you want to count the number of different transactions for each chair type, and you want to sum the price for the different chair types. And if you take a look in the datasheet view, you will see the results as I mentioned in the case, so this should be exactly the same. Okay? So this is it. My question here is to save this query as transactions. So if you try to close the query and Access wants you to save this file, choose yes, because we will need it later, and give a name like transactions. That's it. So we have one table now. You can see on the left side of Axis, we have one table and we have one query. Okay, so please go on with the second question, where you need to create a query again. So query design, here you go again. Okay? This is the question. And you can see the result too. Okay. So let's solve this second question together. Pay attention, please. So I will work in more or less the same way. So I need two different fields here. I need the transaction date and the price, because I want to know on which date sales were the highest. Okay, so I need to sum again, grouped by transaction date. I want the sum of the different prices. So here it is, the sum, but I want to show the highest sum, so the highest sum of the different prices on top. So I need to sort this descending, I think. Okay? So if I sort this descending, you should see that, in fact, on the 15th of November 2018, the total amount of transactions was the height. It was 8,280 euros. Okay? I want you to save this query. Pay attention, please. I want you to save this query as transactions, highest sales by day. Sorry, highest sales by day. Okay? So what I'm explaining here in that case, if you're interested in how to build such queries, you can switch to the SQL view, the standard query language, and you can see that, in fact, this query design view is only to help you creating such kind of complicated SQL instructions. Okay? So all kind of databases, Access or other databases, will use more or less the same language, and this is the language. So if you're familiar with this language, you could have written this instead of drag and drop those fields to this query design. You should be able to write this as SQL code, okay? But as you can see, it's quite complicated. So if you're not familiar with creating queries, I think it's a good idea to keep on using this SQL view, design view, sorry, okay? Two questions. So let's go to question number 3, where I want you to create a report. Pay attention, it's a little bit more complicated to create the report with grouped data. This is the result of the report, so you can read the different steps you need to take, but this should be the result of the report in this question number 3. Okay? So please try to solve this question now. So I saw a lot of answers already, so let's try to solve this together. So we need to create a report, and my question here is to use the report wizard. Okay, you know what a wizard is? It's this some kind of little program that helps you creating what you want to create. So the report wizard will help you to create this report. You can start from the table. So if you start selecting the table first, you can click the report wizard and you will see the different fields of the table. If not, you need to select the table here, okay? But if you start from the table, you can see the different fields already immediately. Okay, we need 3 different data. We need the product, we need the price and the country, because we want to have a report grouped by country, okay? So product, price and country. You can click next, and we want to create groups based on the country, okay? So make sure country is a group. That's important here. It is a grouped report, so we want country to be the group, to be the title, let's say, of each part of the different parts of the report. Click next, and you want to sort on the product. That's what I ask you in the case. You want to sort on the product. Let's see, yes, to sort on the product, and you want to summarize, okay? So each time a new country is shown in the report, you want to summarize, you want to see the sum of the price for each country. And what I'm asking you here is to select this item to calculate the percent of total for sums. Okay, that's what I want you to do. You can read in the case in question number 3. Okay, let's try and see if we have something like the solution in the case. Click next. We want a stepped layout. I don't know the exact term in Portuguese, but it's the first item you need to select. And the portrait, you know what portrait is, so you have an A4 like this and not like this. So portrait and landscape. Click next and give a name to your report, and the name of the report is this: Transactions November 3rd, 2018 by country. Okay? Finish the creation of the report and you will see this. There's a slight problem. The column for price is too small, so you can't see the price. So if you right-click and go to the design view, you can change the size of this field, and if you select those 4 items together, you can change the size immediately for the 4 different items, and you will see the price like this. Okay? So you can see there's only one transaction in Argentina. The price is 120 euros, and it is a small amount, of course, of the total turnover, 0.08%. Then comes Australia, with a lot of transactions done for this case. It is 4.24% of the total amount of the transactions done in November 2018. That's the report. Okay? Save this report and you will see one table, you will see 2 queries and 1 report already in your database. Okay? Now comes something completely different. I want you to export the data now. Pay attention, something completely different. I want you to export the data. So if you scroll down a bit in the case, you will see something about pivot charts. You know what a pivot chart is in Excel? I want you to create this kind of report, this kind of graph, this kind of graphic based on the data in your Access file. Okay, so you need to take some steps again and try to create a graph like this one. Okay, so you need to take those steps. They are explained here in this part of the case. So try to give it a solution to this question. Okay, so here you can see. This is what I want you to do. Okay? Okay. Let's try to do this together, but I think some of you already have the right graph. So we want to export the data. So if you right-click on the table, like this, you can export to Excel. Okay? So you can see there's a lot of communication possible between Access, Excel, and even Word or PowerPoint if you want. So here we go. And we want to save this file as least 2018, and I will save the file on my desktop, for example. Save. Okay, the rest of the different possibilities is not important. So export the data, and it is done. Okay, so here's my file. Here it is. So I can open Excel now, select a new file, and I can try to import, to open the data like this. Open, try to locate your file. Here it is. And these are the data. So again, you can see columns that are much too small, which show hashtags. So if you want to see the complete column, you need to resize the column. Okay, that's it. Try to insert a pivot table or immediately a pivot chart. Okay, in the case, I explain you how to create a pivot chart immediately. A pivot chart goes like this. If you click, you will see this dialog screen. And it is a good idea to show the pivot chart on a new worksheet. Okay, so select new worksheet, which is a default selection. Click OK, and you should see something like this. Okay, this is the main structure of a pivot table on your left and a pivot graph in the middle of your screen. Okay, we want to see the country as a filter. So you can select the field country and drag it to the filter part. And you will see step by step that you will get a pivot chart. We want to see the price, of course, which is the value, like this. And we want this to divide it by product. So product will be here. And you can see immediately that this is more or less the result of the graph, the one I want you to create. As you can see, you will have a filter here. You will see the filter, and you can select United States as the country where you want to see the results for. Okay? You can change the graph title. Sales November 2018 in the United States. Voilà. Okay, I will not explain how to change the colors, of course, but if you want to, you can change colors and so on. Okay, and you will change your graph like this. Okay, so this is a combination of Access and Excel, where you want to analyze your data in Access and you want to show a result in Excel as a graph. Okay, so let's have a short break here. 15 minutes or something? Yes, 15 minutes, and then we come back and then we go on with some more complicated things in Access. Okay, but first of all, a short break here.